Dear friends, welcome to another episode in the fantastic world of the military. In this video, we will discuss the Russian claim over the Norwegian island of IsvalBards, and we are facing a new crisis in Europe involving Russia. On the last Tuesday, February 13th, Yuri Trutin, the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia, during a meeting with a government commission dedicated to the Russian presence in Spitsbergen, in the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, said that what he called Russian rights over the archipelago are under strong pressure, emphasizing that Russia will not take a step back in what it sees as its right to possess those lands. Still, during the meeting, Trutnev said it's all a matter of sovereignty, just like in eastern Ukraine, which indicates that Russia views the issue of its self-proclaimed sovereignty over the Norwegian island of Svalbard the same way it views its self-proclaimed sovereignty over the Ukrainian oblasts of Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, and Crimea. Trutnev also stated that Russian warriors are shedding their blood for Russia's sovereignty, referring to the invasion of Ukraine, and therefore, Russia's right over Svalbard cannot be challenged. But what island is this? And why does Russia claim to have ownership rights over that territory? Svalbard is a Norwegian archipelago in the Arctic Ocean, formed by several islands, with the main one being Spitsbergen, where the settlement of Longyearbyen is located. The archipelago has a total area of 15,246 acres and a population of just over 2,500 people, composed of 61.1% Norwegians, with the remaining 38.9% distributed among various ethnicities and nationalities. The archipelago has been known since the 16th century, when it was discovered by the Dutch navigator Willem Barents, with the Dutch establishing the first permanent settlement there in 1619. Thanks to its strategic location, the archipelago attracted many fishermen and whalers, mainly English, Danish, and French, with the first Russians arriving in the late 17th century. Initially, they mainly engaged in polar bear and fox hunting. After the Anglo-Russian War of 1809, Russian activities in Svalbard began to decline until they ceased completely in 1820, with the archipelago being partially abandoned in the second half of the 19th century. With the islands almost entirely uninhabited by the end of the 19th century, the Norwegians found large coal deposits there, attracting the interest of the United States and the United Kingdom, who began exploiting the reserves in the early 20th century. It was only after World War I in 1920 that the issue of sovereignty over the archipelago began to be debated, with the Svalbard Treaty signed that year in Paris, recognizing Norway as the sovereign holder of the archipelago. However, this is a special sovereignty, and not all Norwegian laws apply there. After the end of World War II, Norway resumed mining activities on the island, with the Soviet Union doing the same in Barentsburg, Pyramiden, and Grumman. During the Cold War period, the Soviet population on the island surged, accounting for 2/3 of the local population. However, after the Soviet collapse in 1991 and the closure of several mines, the Russian population decreased drastically, and today, out of a total of about 2,500 people, 400 are Russians, 10 are Poles, 322 are of other nationalities, with the remaining being Norwegians. But, despite this multicultural and multinationality past, Russia claims, without presenting evidence, that it was a Russian who discovered the archipelago, and that, because Russians were the largest population group there during the Cold War, Russia today has the right to claim sovereignty over the island. In May 2023, Russians living in Barentsburg even held a parade with flags from the separatist territory in Ukraine, with the 400 Russians living on the islands organizing and conducting various military-leaning demonstrations. Without consulting the Norwegian government, when confronted by Norwegian authorities, Russians claim they owe no respect to Norway, but rather to Russia. This attitude of Russians in Svalbard and the recent statements by the Russian government have reignited tensions that Russia has created with Norway. As Norway is a full member of NATO, any more aggressive moves by Russia can escalate quickly, which is why the archipelago, despite being so remote, is attracting so much attention lately. With this territorial claim, Russia once again shows that its expansionist appetite has no intention of stopping in Ukraine. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to not miss any news, criticisms, ideas, or suggestions. You can leave them in the comments.